That was always fun. Are you rolling? All right. So my name is Matt Croyle. I am the festival director of the Oil Valley Film Festival. Today, this year is our first time having any kind of panel, which is nice in our second season. We have PJ Gaynard up from Pittsburgh. He's based out of Pittsburgh, filmmaker. Paul Schermerhorn from Jamestown, New York, and Matthew King from Erie, Pennsylvania. So I guess I'll formulate some questions and let you guys kind of discuss. We'll kind of keep it kind of, I guess, an open kind of discussion, kind of a roundtable thing. So if you guys have questions for each other, obviously, feel free to talk about whatever you want. Because it's not often, especially in this area, that people get the ability to listen to creative people just kind of talk to each other about the process, about what they do, and so we'll just go from there. All right.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, so why don't you guys, because I don't know you guys, not biblically anyway. So, but could you tell me, about, tell me about who you guys are. Like, what have you made? What do you like? And then I'll do the same. What's your background?
Okay. I went to Temple University Film School and moved out to LA afterwards. Did all that, tried to do all the studio system stuff. I worked in a couple different studios and just found it to be, it really wasn't what I was looking for. I was more of an independent filmmaker type person. And moved back to Erie. And
how long were you in LA?
I was in LA for about 3 years. New York for about a year, and then LA for about another year. So back and forth. And just
Didn't you and Sean Hatasi live in the same building?
we knew each other. One of my best friends out there still lives out there. He works for New Line and whatnot. Knows all those people and whatnot. So I got to meet and bump knuckles with a bunch of people out there. And I mean, it was fun while it lasted, but it wasn't what I was really. The passion just wasn't there. And I came back to Erie. And just getting into the independent film scene just was where it was. It was fun. So, and I made some shorts, some features, acted in a couple, and
I don't really have any formal education other than a little bit of community college. What I know is from experience. I've been involved in filmmaking since probably 2003 or so. So high school and a little bit of college, and just generally studying the process and all that. I've thought about moving to LA, and that's the obvious option of going out there and getting into the middle of it all. But I've stayed out here, and I've worked on 3, producing-wise, 3 productions, and acting-wise, 5 feature film length, including Matt Croyle's. And what I've been working on in the last few years primarily would be short promo, mini doc, YouTube type stuff like that.
Pretty cool. You, this is year 22 for making movies for me, and I'm from Canonsburg, PA, so just south of Pittsburgh. But I went to school in Rochester, New York, and I thought I was going to be an engineer, and then ended up becoming a filmmaker while I was there and got my degree in filmmaking. And then I worked in Rochester, New York for a little while, and Boston for a year or so. And then back to Rochester, where I married my wife. Was minor forays to New York City for a project here or there, and then out to Los Angeles, and I was in LA for about 11 years. And a lot of the work initially, I did promo stuff and short commercials and things. And some of the stuff I did in Rochester, New York was like I shot weddings and edited wedding videos and high school sporting events, and And I wanted to be directing, but it was more, at that time, it was more camera work than anything else. And then some of the corporate and industrial stuff I was directing, I guess, as much as you, when it's corporate and industrial stuff, you're not really directing. You're
Telling you what to do when you're just going to do it.
Yeah, you facilitate.
Right.
And you fill in the blanks.
Right.
So you are directing, I guess, like, because they don't really know how to make a movie, so they need you to, like, make it for them.
Right.
So then when I went out to LA, you know, I was doing, I did a lot of lighting work out there initially, and then I started directing like spec commercials, and I directed a full-length play. My friend writes plays, so he writes plays, and he's written 10 plays, and so somebody I met out in LA was like, hey, I can get you 4 weeks in the theater. You can direct 4 weeks in this theater. And when I showed up at the theater, the guy was like, yeah, you want to direct a play? Here's the key. You can come here and rehearse anytime you want. And that like never happens. So I was like, all right, well, sure. So yeah, so I directed a bunch of stuff and produced stuff and acted here and there. I acted in a feature last year, actually. It was probably the first feature, my first acting IMDb credit. But yeah, I did a bunch of those things. I've directed now 9 shorts, no features, although I've backseat directed a good couple features where they were like first-time directors who are also acting, and they just they're not really. Some of them weren't directing as much as they wanted to be directing, so you can backseat direct. But they get the credit, and rightly so. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's their baby, so. But I'm looking for that opportunity to direct a feature next. I think is really the next step for me.
Are you waiting for something to come to you, or do you have stuff that you want to do yourself that you could, like, crowdfund or?
Yeah, I'm not waiting for anybody. Although I do have a couple features that have signed me up to be their directors. They just don't have any money. And I'm not waiting, but there are projects that when you read the script, you're like I read this. Like one script, I read the script and I'm like, you know, the movie takes place in Pennsylvania, but in 1940s Pennsylvania, and it takes place in Mexico, and it takes place in Brazil, in the jungle, and in the poppy fields, and it takes place in Florida. And it's like obviously Florida, like on the beach, like running and stuff. So I don't want to say that you can't make a movie cheap, but that maybe not the movie that you want to make cheap. So he's like, I'm signed up to direct that movie. Right. As soon as they get like $10 million or something, you know, there's like action sequences, like driving through the jungle, and I'm like, yeah, let's make it. So yeah, so I mean, that's where I'm at. I feel like I'm probably gonna write a jeans and t-shirt movie, and then that's what I'm.
I like that. It's a good name there. Jeans and t-shirts.
Yeah. You know, the thing that I noticed about, especially all three of you. Very similar to myself, we seem to wear many hats, or have worn many hats in the creative process of making films. Now, we usually get noticed by like our successes, but our successes are kind of built on the backs of the failures that we've had. Can you guys talk about maybe any kind of experiences that you've had that you've really learned from something that didn't work or didn't get finished, or you know, something along those lines?
It's a boneyard.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys.
My whole life. I mean, there's stuff that you'll start and you'll finish, and then there's stuff that you'll start and it just gets put away, or you don't get to it, or you start filming, and then even on our film, we would film, and then an actor would halfway through would drop out, and you'd be like, "What are we gonna do now? We're gonna have to reshoot all those person's scenes
With somebody else.
And I wouldn't really call them failures. They're just learning processes that you have to deal with, but you kind of figure it out along the way, and that's just part of filmmaking.
I mean, that to me, that's the core of filmmaking. It's cliche, but it's like, you know, the only real failure is when you give up completely and stop doing what you're doing. And I actually think that I learned way more on the failures of some projects than I would have learned at college or any university, because they tell you exactly how to do it. But when you're failing, you're learning how to not do it. And you're going, okay, next time I'm going to know better. And I'm going to plan for this and be prepared for this.
You never really be prepared, though.
No, but it's
just always going to be
everything is problem solving.
Right.
To wear many hats, you have to be able to problem solve.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a good bartender. Like, you know, oh man, I'm here by myself, but I've got 30 people I need to serve. I'll figure out a way to do it. You know, that's really what filmmaking is, and directing and producing. To me, are like that.
I think it's about being pregnant. Because, you know, like when you're pregnant with the baby and it's going well, right? Like in 9 months there is going to be a baby, as long as everything's going well, right? But when you're pregnant with a movie, you can be pregnant for many, many years. You're just pregnant.
It can last.
And you're like, how long am I going to be pregnant? Until you actively keep making you have to make the baby. And so I have got projects at home. I am very pregnant on many, many projects. There are some people that are very angry with me because of the projects that I'm pregnant with, and then other ones get finished. But I do think that the successes live on the backs of the failures, on the ones that I remember the first real short that I feel like I got done. And I'm 9 in now, but that first one, I remember the editor was somebody who helped me on one of the ones in college that never got as polished, never got as finished as I wanted it to be. And I remember saying to him, we were like a year and 3 months into trying to get the short done. And I remember, he was my editor, and I just remember going over to his house and being like, dude, we can't fail. This can't be like that one. This must be done. It must be. And it got done. It got done. It was in many festivals. But it was only because I was adamant, and because I was able to point to that other one and say, like, this can't be us. That's how it got done.
As creators, we tend to put the responsibility of our stories on our own backs. What do you think audiences want in today's world? And is it you guys think is it your responsibility to worry about that at all, or do you take that into consideration, or do you just want to say what you want to say?
I guess that's a personal thing, really, because it comes down to the personality of the individual. Personally, I feel responsibility with your words and actions and things. So what I'm putting out into the world, I want to have some sort of positive impact. I don't think it is 100% your responsibility, because it also falls on the viewers back to kind of have a bit of knowledge and context in what they're consuming in the world. So I definitely take some responsibility with what I'm doing, and it's up to you as a creator to determine what your level of responsibility is. But I see a lot of people and artists who I would personally disagree with, because they think that they have no responsibility. And I think with any platform, there is a great responsibility.
Especially public.
Yeah, you're influencing kids, parents, the world, and for future generations. So, words matter, in my opinion. I won't get political. I'll stay away from that area of that.
I think that, I interpret your question slightly differently. I have an internal governor about what I think the audience wants to see.
Okay.
And I built that internal governor out of being on stage, seeing what gets an audience's reaction in a moment, sitting in the theater, watching how they react to my work. And when it's successful, when it's not successful. But at the same time, I have to do work that I am excited about. Because if I do work that I think an audience is excited about, but I am not excited about, I just don't do that work. I only do what I'm truly, like, I have to harness my passion and my excitement because it's the only thing I'm willing to do 24 hours a day, that I'm willing to eat and sleep and breathe, and that I'm willing to put my family on hold for, and my life on hold for, and just dump my money into. So it's a balancing act where I do the thing that I love, and I do the thing that I think is right, and I do the things that I'm excited about, and the subject matter that I'm excited about, but I keep in the back of my mind, when I'm making it, this is what they want, this is what they will find palatable. I'm not gonna, like I love experimental music, I love like crazy things. I don't always know that my audience loves exactly that, but I think I know what they do love, and so I can take what I want to say and then sort of like mold it a little.
Bits of it. Yeah, in a sense. That's what you're saying.
I agree with that. When I write something or something comes to me, that I have to be passionate about it to even step forward and go forward with it. And it's stuff that I'm interested in, making stuff that I want to see. So if it's something that I want to see personally, like I read a script and say, yeah, I'd definitely go see that. Then I get interested in it. If it's something that I probably wouldn't check out, I kind of push it off to the side.
Well,
unless someone.
You need that kind of catharsis, I think, as a creator, somebody that makes things, as an artist. You want that kind of cathartic, I guess, experience in being passionate about something. So I understand completely. Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, the thing about filmmaking, right? I mean, if you're in the game, you're in the game because you want to change the world. And, you know, I don't want to be like, I don't want to make it all about me,
Right.
but I totally want to change people to make them more like me. You know, like, if you don't have an opinion, you're not in the game, right? I mean, you gotta have an opinion. I want you to think like me, at least for this length of the movie.
Right.
Somehow.
Like any art form, what is the artist putting his blood, sweat, and tears into it for?
Yeah.
That other than to put himself out there,
Right.
expose himself, and either teach others or maybe learn from others through the form. So I think that's what's great about film is when you're working with so many other people and they have all these other perspectives and they're coming into the story and it's like, oh, okay, you know, I didn't think about that. This is what I wanted, and then you're actually showing me a better way or whatever.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
so it's definitely a balancing act of like what you know personally, what you want to personally put your effort into, and you know, like any other thing, it's like know your audience, know what you're trying to. You're going to be selling it somehow, whether it's for free or for whatever. You want to be able to get it into the hands of the viewers. So you have to know from the get-go, I think, sort of who you are, and be comfortable and trust yourself. You know, this is something I would believe in.
It's a hard thing to do.
You know,
trust yourself.
Yeah.
It really is.
But that brings up an interesting point, you know, and it's one thing I think filmmakers often forget about, especially new filmmakers, is they forget that we're making a product. And at the end of the day, our product is meant to go out there and be viewed and be sold. I mean, it's a tangible product when we're done. It's not just a personal product. It's just not a product for me. I'm not making wedding videos anymore. Where you make, I mean, you know, wedding videos are for like 10 people, right? Yeah. They're for 10 people, right? You're like making it for the
the parents of the bride and the groom and the bride and the groom, and maybe a couple of their friends, and I mean that's who watches the wedding video. You're like this is supposed to be like broad form content that we make that sort of is like a finished product that hopefully like somebody likes enough that they're willing to say like I would pay money for that.
Mhm.
So that is what we do.
I know when I started really getting into film as a child, and I used to shoot on my dad's old Super 8 and stuff like that, but like the mass part of going to watch a movie, you would either go to the movie theater to see it, like drive-in, or just regular cinema, or you would watch it on television after it was released on TV. Now today, with the advancement of technology, with having everything available all the time on your phone, or in a taxi, or on a plane, do you guys think that the product that is being put out there, do you think that we're maybe more oversaturated with product itself? Or do you think the advancement of technology and the readiness of it being there is a good thing?
Who wants to go first?
Well, yes and no. I mean, yes, because I make something and I put it out there, and him and her can all watch it without, I mean, the point is to get people to watch it. But then you have anybody who makes something can be a filmmaker. So it's, this guy made a short film, but he just wants to put it out there just to...
I mean, I can even shoot something on my phone.
Exactly. Like, everybody's a photographer, everybody's a filmmaker, but it's the people who really, like, put the blood, sweat, and tears into these projects that are truly, I don't know how to say it, but meaningful, that you really want to watch and see, and it can span across all these platforms. But someone who just puts stuff out just to put stuff out, then it's getting a little, you know what I mean?
I mean, there's literally, when you consider just TV programs nowadays, there's so much out there just by that platform alone. You can't watch it all. I remember a time where I was actually consistently keeping up on certain things.
Right.
And now with all platforms making their own TV series, movies, everything, on top of Joe Schmo with his phone and YouTube, and for sure, we're way oversaturated. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because, with books, painting, any kind of art form, that the materials or the tools become cheaper, everybody starts to get into it. But kind of like what he says, he touched on it a little bit, where the people that are actually meaningful in telling a story, they're not just, okay, hey, here's another vlog of me watching TV, or just nothing. Those are the ones that are truly gonna stand out. And you're definitely not gonna slow it down. I think I curate a 24-hour film festival, and one of the contestants the past 2 years has filmed and edited on his iPhone. A 2 to 5 minute short film that were better quality than a lot of shorts that I've seen online, with expensive equipment and time and budgets. So I think it really just comes down to understanding, again, yourself and the art form, and really kind of caring about what you're putting out there.
Transcend through the saturation.
Yes.
The thing you're talking about, where the TV show thing, I was actually listening to something on NPR, and they were saying that there's actually, I think it's the president of FX, I think it was the president of FX, and he said, he was like, I can't watch all the TV shows. He's like, I can't watch the shows on our channel and our competition. Like that's a dude who's getting paid to make this stuff. Like, it's his job to watch stuff. Like, he's not watching by accident. He can't keep up. There's shows he doesn't know the names of. That's not even like a YouTube video. We're talking about legitimate, like, they spent real money on these shows. He's like, I never heard about that one. Like that's something, you don't even want to say that, right? That's like bad for your job. Like,
and you wonder, like, where do you draw the line then? Because what happens to viewer ratings and the whole platform of understanding, like, oh, let's put our money into this or that because people are watching. It's like everything is in upheaval right now with just so much content. How do you know? Like, there's only so many people in the world. Well, how can they watch everything?
I think I know what it leads to. I think it leads to number one, it leads to fragmentation. And fragmentation leads to specialization. It must. And that's why, like, when you watch like web series like The Guild, why The Guild was so popular. Right. Because The Guild tries to zero in on a very specific segment of the population who doesn't have anything else that is doing that for them.
Yeah.
And that's why, and you look at, like, well, why is the WWE so successful? Because they do that thing, and they do it in a bigger, badder version than anybody else does. And is there wrestling? Is there backyard wrestling? Is there local wrestling? There's definitely local wrestling that's reasonable quality, but it's not anything. There's not anybody else doing what they do. But then I think I think it leads to self-curating, right? I mean, that's really the key, is that we all end up having to make decisions about, like, nope, don't, like, I have a friend, she's in LA, she's like working on some show called Vindication. I think it's called Vindication or something. I don't know. Like, she sent me a message, she said, I'm on this show. I was like, I never heard about it. It's like a one-word name. They're all like one-word names. It's like a new word. I don't know that word. Power. Like, I heard of the show, some show called Power. I never watched it.
Well, and 10, 15 years ago, you would have felt bad. You'd been like, oh, I haven't heard of that.
I didn't watch that.
Now it's like, I haven't heard of that. You know, I haven't watched Game of Thrones. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, BoJack Horseman. I hear it's great.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
Aaron Paul's in that.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
But I think that I do see it changes the market, right? Because there's always going to be certain types of material that you say that's a movie. I want that cinematic experience. So whatever that is, if that's Dunkirk, you say, like, no, I gotta go see Dunkirk in the movie theater. I gotta see that in the movie theater, and that's where you see. That's why it's good and bad, right? Because you've already seen the major studios say, well, we're only going to make tentpole movies. They mean movies that are giant, and the reason why they're only making tentpole movies is because they're trying to help you curate a cinematic experience that's worth your time to go to the movie theater to watch it. But I think we're going to see movie theaters change. I think that the age of the megaplex is over, and you are going to see that those, like, the number of theaters that are like 10 or 14 screens or whatever, I think those numbers are going to drop, and you're going to start to see more community theaters that have got like 3 screens.
That's what I was going to say, 3 or 4 screens, that like, yeah, the whole movie, that's thing, it's just so...
well, it'll probably go in the direction of, like, okay, so we got 3 main type screens and 1 IMAX screen. And, like, that's it. We're not going to have 20 screens where we have this one movie playing 2 times every other hour. It's like, maybe in major cities we'll still have some of those, but...
Well, and food is coming.
Yeah.
If you're not, because if you look at the most successful places are like Alamo Draft House, where you can get a great meal, and if you want an adult beverage, you can get an adult beverage, and they will bring it to you at your seat, and you will sit in a very, very comfy seat. Yep. That's what it is.
Well, let me ask you guys this. Obviously this is a personal question for each one of you. So as we're looking at the differences between how we create and what we create for, would you rather have a widely accepted release, or would you rather create something for a specific audience? Just individually. I mean, it's obviously a question that is personal preference.
Widely accepted. Widely accepted. I want to change the world. Widely accepted.
I'll take both.
Yeah. Both. Couldn't you have something that's, fits that type of.
Well, Dunkirk, I think, is
what is widely accepted all over.
something like Dunkirk would be. It's sort of niche. It's really
It is.
not,
It is.
but it was good. It was
It's a war
well
movie.
made enough that
Yeah.
a lot of people were.
A lot of people don't like war movies.
Yeah.
It's a war movie, but there's more to it. And I think as a filmmaker myself, I don't want to put something out there that I'm spoon feeding to people. I want people to be challenged. I want them to have to think about things, and I think that's a responsibility that we have. I don't know if you guys agree. I'm sure you probably do agree.
But that's style.
Right.
That's not, to me, that's not subject.
Right.
That's how you do it.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So if we can all three make a movie about marble playing, right? It's coming back. It's a niche market.
Is it killing the fidget spinner
Oh,
market?
yeah, I certainly hope so. I think that's the bad guy. We just described that's the bad guy. The guy, no, it's a fidget spinning. I'm giving them away. And then it's like, right? But we all tell that Marvel movie completely differently. There's no way we would tell the same Marvel movie.
Well, what is your take on the Marvel comeback? Is it the player? Is it the company? Is it the actual object? What about the you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's how every artist looks at everything differently. What's more interesting to that person?
There's actually a film festival in Erie in about 3 months where 5 different directors are given the same exact script.
Oh wow.
And they all make their own film off of that script, but they're all going to be completely
Yeah.
different. So,
Yeah,
kinda
staging, all that different stuff is going to be different.
So I guess we'll wrap this up then, guys. I want to thank you each for sitting in and giving people some stuff to think about. I guess we'll just kind of get down the line here and maybe take some time and talk about what you guys have upcoming that people can look forward to.
Hi, Joe.
We're back.
all
All right, we're back.
Let you know we can really shake it down.
Well, upcoming stuff. We've got 2 scripts in the work. One is actually from a play that Matt
Jared's
wrote and directed a long time ago, and we're slowly working on it.
I had
trying to make it a
the
feature
world
film.
premiere of that play in Detroit, which was kind of cool to go watch and just meet some people that you've never met in your entire life, and they're doing your words on a stage, and it's just like, what is even happening right now? It's an extremely strange thing. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no. And then I got one more in the works. It's a larger budgeted film, but we're doing research on it, me and someone else. And it's like a cross between the Da Vinci Code and Jurassic Park.
Okay.
No, I mean it's about this these archaeologists who come across this dig and they find what looks to be human remains, and they carbon date it, and it goes way back before the time of the dinosaurs, and slowly they work up, and it seems to have wings like an angel, but there's a lot of conspiracy going on. So doing a lot of research.
Sounds like a Simpsons episode. I think there was a Simpsons episode about that.
Yeah.
What do I have coming up? I recently had the Insomniac Film Festival, and that'll be next year in July. So if you're into filmmaking, you want to prepare for that, will be.
Now, explain for the people that don't understand that. Explain what that process.
Yeah,
is.
what is it? It's sort of like the 48-hour film fest in Buffalo. This one is a 24-hour competition where in 24 hours you make a 2 to 5 minute short film.
You write it, shoot it,
Yep.
edit it, score it,
All in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And
turn it in within 24 hours.
the rules are pretty limited. Keep it around PG-13ish, family friendly, and use some of the elements provided. And
Such as like a word or a phrase, or a prop
Yeah.
or something. Okay.
So there's that, and then I'll likely have the short story contest again that I just had. That was the first time I tried that. And what else? Continuing the Chautauqua Tonight thing, where I do interviews, musical guests, sort of like a Tonight Show platform on an individual YouTube video basis. Kind of expanding it out into an arts and cultural magazine online format. So if anybody's interested in that, or they have artists in the typically Chautauquan or surrounding areas that might want some sort of video exposure.
Right.
It's all free, I never charge for that. And a lot of the Insomniac and the short story contest kind of fall under that umbrella. Also looking into more podcasts. I've started filming and editing podcasts. And
Which is interesting because a podcast isn't really meant to be filmed, but yet here
that's
you are.
the new thing because technology and
Well,
space
Joe
is
Rogan
so
does that
cheap,
with his,
you
and
know?
in studio as well.
It started with probably Howard Stern. Like, he
Right.
was probably one of
Yeah, I
the
mean,
first to do that.
technically, yeah, the radio show, but they would film it, turn it into a TV show too. At the same time.
But now technology is so cheap
It is.
to a degree. It's cheap enough that you can have a couple cameras set up and film people talking about
Cut back and
things.
forth, yeah, right.
And I have plans for mini docs, like 10, 20-minute mini docs about
Any
specific
specific subjects that you're looking for?
anything positive.
That's good.
I don't, there's, going back to when we started, a lot of what I do, I try to put some sort of positive take on
Which
things.
is a quality I like that you have.
So, yeah. So there's a lot of negative in the world, and through my art form, I don't need to be adding to that noise. In my opinion.
PJ?
I'm in post-production right now on a couple shorts. One's about like a first date, but the woman's texting her friend, and her friend sort of inserts themselves into the date to a point where she's wondering if what they're talking about is changing the way the guy is. So that's in post, and then we got second place in the 48-hour film project down in Pittsburgh this year, and so we're just polishing that up to get ready to release that online. And I'm writing a feature film with Jerry Pietrella. I don't know if anybody here knows Jerry Pietrella.
Jerry?
Yeah, Jerry's a crazy guy, and him and I are writing a feature film about. He wants to play an angel. He's like, I want to play an angel movie. So it's a movie where
There's some crossover.
yeah, it's like a dramedy. It's a dramedy where he gets to play an angel, and we go to hell a couple times, and we spend some time in purgatory and some time on it. So Jerry and I are writing that very slowly, but we're writing that, and then a lot of my time recently has been spent teaching. So I teach at the Community College of Allegheny County, and they've started a film technician training program to teach people how to do jobs behind the camera. And not that we're shocked, there is opportunities there for people to direct and produce and write, but it's really more geared towards learning how to build set walls and how to be ACs and how to do stuff like that.
Right. Now, in that process, as far as the equipment and stuff, are you guys teaching people different cameras, or is it a specific thing that you have set for a program, like one type of camera?
Yeah, we've got Blackmagic Mini Ursa 4.6K cameras is what we're teaching them, but it's more the process of, because we're trying to create a feeder program for IATSE Local 489 and the IATSE union process. That's what that program is trying to do. So, we're teaching them like large style cameras with 2 assistant camera people and a gaffer and a key grip, and that sort of studio mode process.
Which is nice to have, because once you understand that process, I guess, you can always scale it back and work on, take something to a smaller set.
Oh yeah, it's one of the first assignments I give them. I show them a sheet that has it all broken out. I was like, this is what happens when you have 90 people.
Yes.
Now, you have 7. Which positions do you keep? And they're like, there's a lot of slashes on here now. This person is the producer / director / writer / lead actor. And I'm like, yes, that's what happens. So yeah, that's some of what I'm doing right now.
Well, I want to thank you guys very much for coming down. I'm glad to see the 2 of you in the same room. The last time that happened was probably when we premiered the film, in like,
What, 2 or 3 years ago?
2014? The last time that you guys were in the room together with me? Yep. So yeah, that's kind of great that you're both here tonight. PJ, thank you so much. I do want to give you some props. Your short film, The Women Adora, played the festival this year, and we yesterday actually at the library, and it's very impressive. I was very thoroughly enjoyed that.
Oh, thank you so
Very
much.
thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah. But I guess that's it for now. So I guess we can wave bye to the internet people.
Bye, internet
people. Thank you guys so much. You're welcome. Appreciate it. Do not forget tomorrow. Tomorrow, starting at noon, we do have 2 documentary short films that we'll be screening, and that will be followed by the American Voices for Equality block. That's women and minority filmmakers, and we'll be wrapping up early evening tomorrow with the kind of just a basic wrap up of the festival, and then the awards presentations.
Do any of these guys out here have any questions they want to ask?
Actually, yeah. I mean, if you guys want to throw a couple out, I mean, we're running a little over, but if you guys have any questions for these guys,
I have a question,
please
Matt
now.
King.
Oh, Joe's got
Remember after the guy from the funeral? Dad's funeral?
Yeah.
Is it true you took Mike Lauer's position on the scale?
Had to bring Mike Lauer.
I'll throw it out there. If anybody wants to get involved in anything, don't hesitate to contact me. That's how connections start.
What?
Just saying, if anybody wants to get involved in filmmaking, just reach out to people.